Okay, welcome back to another episode of Third and 23. I'm your host, Alex, here to continue week 7 of the college football season. We're moving on. We're trying to continue to bounce back from this 1-4 weekend that I had last week after I had a hot hot stretch there going 8-1 in out of 9 games. So we're gonna try to keep it going. We're going with Nebraska at Indiana. Indiana 6.5 point favorite. If you guys aren't aware, Indiana is undefeated this season, 5-0. They're one of 3 teams this season that have never trailed in the game. The other two being Army and Texas. You take a look at their last 3 games. Blew away Charlotte, kind of blew away Maryland. Same for Northwestern. They're led by their head coach, really, Kurt Signetti. First year head coach, he comes over from JMU. If you guys are college football fans, you remember JMU from last season. The Dukes had a great year, and they were kind of a story last year because they were there was talk of holding them out of a bowl game because of the NCAA rule about FBS team or FCS teams moving to FBS. Silly nonsense like that the NCAA has, right? So that was a big story. Now he leaves JMU. He comes over to Indiana. He did bring some guys over with him. They got a big time receiver, their number one target, Elijah Surratt. And him and an Ohio transfer quarterback, Curtis Rourke, are two of the big reasons why Indiana's pass offense ranks 10th in the country right now at 315 yards per game. They also have a pretty good running game that averages 200 yards rushing a game, really led by Justice Ellison and Tyson Lawton, kind of a two-headed monster there. And then on the defensive side, also dominating. I mean, when you blow out teams, you're going to have dominant stats. Their pass defense is 21st in the country. Their run defense, 6th in the country, only allowing 83 yards per game. But here's the big question, really, for Indiana. It's the X factor in my game, or my X factor for this game, is are they for real? You see the 3 teams they blew away, nothing special about them. They also put 77 on Western Illinois. They blew away FIU. They crushed UCLA. They haven't played anyone really with a heartbeat this season. This is their toughest opponent to date. Now you look at Nebraska. Nebraska's led by true freshman quarterback Dylan Rayola, big time recruit, and he's been as good as advertised. He's still a freshman, so he has his freshman moments, but you can see that he's going to be a future star of college football, and he's growing every week, getting better every week. He kind of spreads it around, doesn't really have a big time target to throw to. I guess you could say Jamal Banks, the transfer from Wake Forest, is probably his best option, but really just spreading the ball around. Running game, not the strongest group in my opinion. Emmett Johnson, Dante Dowdle, Ramir Johnson. It's a trio they use. They use a committee. Nothing really special out of any of the 3 backs. They're still trying to establish who can be the bell cow of that backfield. Defensively, though, is what really leads Nebraska. Starts up front. Ty Robinson, Nate Hutchmaker. I could be pronouncing his last name wrong. Big time bullies and bears up front. These guys are for real up front. I've seen them shut down bully offensive lines this season. This is gonna be the biggest test for Indiana's rush offense to date, and I don't really know if they're really up to that challenge. I mean, if you look at Indiana's rush offense, 200 yards rushing for the season per game for the season, but there's 300 yards against Western Illinois. You take a look at the Northwestern game, and they were down to like 135, 140, something like that. Nothing really that impressive. So I think there's some early parts of the schedule really kind of inflated some of these defensive stats. And I think as you're going to see as the course of the season goes along, that maybe Indiana's defense isn't really as strong as these stats would indicate. Maybe Indiana's offense, you might be able to say the same thing. Are they really as strong as their stats indicate? So for me, this is kind of like a be exposed game for Nebraska. Like you guys are still led by a freshman quarterback. You're not here yet, or expose Indiana. You're not really for real. You had a soft schedule, and your record is going to, and you're not really what your record says you are, right? So for me, when I'm looking at this game, I think it's a little bit of both. I think Nebraska's defensive front and on the back end, Marcus Buford leading them on the back end, Sierra Wright. These guys are for real on defense. The black shirts, in my opinion, are back for Nebraska. I think these guys can absolutely slow down this Indiana offense. I don't think Nebraska's offense is explosive enough to completely take advantage of what I think is probably an overrated Indiana defense. So I think you're looking at a low scoring game. A low scoring game like this, you're going to give me 6.5. I'm going to take the 6.5 points in Nebraska because I think this is going to be a 4 quarter fight. Forget the blowouts that Indiana has had. I don't think that's happening at all this season or this game. This is going to be a 4 quarter fight, in my opinion. Not saying Indiana won't win it, but it's going to, I think this is coming down to the very end, the final drive or two of this game. So, anyways, that pretty much wraps it up. If you like the content, please like, follow, subscribe. Let's see if Nebraska's defense can definitely hold serve in this game on the road. And as I said, like, follow, subscribe, and you're going to see my YouTube handle here in a few seconds. Take care.